I'd like to take you on a trip back into time. I want to talk about the years 1652 to 1807. My name is Greg Johnson, and these years mark the history of the slave trade in my hometown, Newport, Rhode Island. We'll talk about how it affected the lives of slaves, African Americans after slavery, during the Gilded Age, all the way to 2022. Slavery has had its effect on African Americans to this day, but we'll talk about that later. The legacy of slavery and the slave trade in Newport has for the most part been forgotten or just rejected in the facts. I will closely cover the timeline from the first slave arriving in Newport to the present. I will also cover Newport's Gilded Age for folks that were African Americans. Through interviews and old images of slave auctions, we will discover exactly what the slaves did, how they lived, and how life was for them. Slavery in Newport and slavery down south were two different things, and I intend to tell the difference so you can realize this. This documentary will also show the life and times of African Americans in Newport after slavery ended. Many black Newporters had very interesting jobs, and again, we'll talk about that later. So, with that in mind, let's begin. This is the history of blacks in Newport. From 1725 to 1807, ships made more than 1,000 voyages from Africa to Newport. They chained their human cargo into slavery to sail to Newport. These ships carried barrels of rum to buy African slaves, who were then traded for more rum in the West Indies, which was then returned to Newport, otherwise known as the transatlantic slave trade. By the mid-18th century, 114 years after Roger Williams founded this tiny colony of Rhode Island, 1% of all Newporters, or about 4,700 people, were black. Nearly all of them slaves. Cut.